Hi, everybody. This is Anya and Nathalie from Haarlem in the Netherlands and Haarlem in New York. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Anya? Hello, Harlem to Harlem. That is always so funny. I know we've said that joke many times, but it's quite charming. How is there everything?
It's all great here. It's wonderful. Losing Facebook. Let me see if I see you. Yes, I can see you.
You see me good.
I see you, yes. And yeah, the weather has been great. It's a beautiful afternoon, and I think it's a beautiful morning in New York, in America.
It's rainy but beautiful, but I'm so excited and that we're going to be talking about martial arts and Reiki that it doesn't matter if it's downpouring, hail. I'm just such a fan of the subject that, who cares? Like, outside is outside. So
yes, right. That's right. So I was thinking we are here to talk about martial arts and Reiki because we're both passionate about martial arts and Reiki, and Nathalie does Iaido, I do Aikido, and we both do Reiki. And maybe we should start introducing ourselves about just a couple of words about the arts, the martial art that we do, and how we see it, maybe what it is for us at this moment. Nathalie?
Perfect. So I practice a martial art called Iaido, and it's not very well known. It's the art of drawing the katana. So basically what you do is a series of katas each kata has a series of cuts, and you fight an imaginary enemy. So really you're learning a lot about how to move with a sword and how to, to handle it, but mostly it also has to do with your presence and how you behave in times of danger. So when you're confronted with someone, how you keep your calm in the hara and you're able to perform those movements to defend yourself, not out of aggression, again, just from a piece of calm. So it's a beautiful art. And again, you start with the basics of just learning how to move. In my case, my body type, it's very opposite of what EI should be, right? I'm very long and I'm not designed for EI. So it takes a long time to learn how to move. But the idea is to develop qualities like seme, which is this energy that really almost pushes people away so they don't mess with you, even without having a sword. And kokoro, which is this heart, mind, strength. So again, as you move in, you really move more into the energy side of it versus just the technique. So again, it's very beautiful. And again, as a Reiki practitioner, what's happening to me is I feel more the energy side than the technique side. So it's been a catching up and integrating, but it's an interesting martial arts and very related to Reiki, as we will probably discuss later.
Yeah.
Reiki movement with a sword.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful. Well, you've already wrapped it up, actually. But yes, but when I listen to you, it's to me, Aikido is absolutely the same. Aikido is the way the founder of Aikido called it is the art of peace. And yes, you battle, but you mainly battle yourself. You battle your fears, you battle your anger. It's like he said, the founder of Aikido said, the victory is the victory over yourself, and it is indeed it's a technique to take control, to take power, also over yourself and over your partner, but through love. They're showing love. It's like it's not really fighting. It's fighting, like some Aikido teachers say, fighting a good fight. I like that one. Fighting a good fight where nobody loses, but everybody wins. The love and the peace wins. And this is exactly what we learn in Reiki. If you go to Reiki precepts, what do we learn there? Do not anger, do not worry, do not fear, be true to yourself, and show compassion. So in that respect, it's indeed what you say. It's like, for me, Aikido has been just practicing, embodying the Reiki precepts and the Reiki principles. And actually Reiki principles, Aikido principles, Iaido principles are the universal principles. And that's what makes it beautiful and exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm done.
I love it because you mentioned love. In the eye, there is not a lot of love. There is a lot of probably more compassion than love. So I love that love is so, and caring for a partner, because again, the eye doesn't have a partner. Like, it's so important in Aikido, because I think that makes it a lot easier to bring the, the Reiki principle and connecting with every living being. In the eye, what I love too about the principle is, for example, you have to feel your fear. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of testing with 200 people looking at you, which for me is like a nightmare, right? So what happens if you negate your anger and you're not in touch with it? It comes up that you start shaking or you forget the katas. So the sensei trains you to feel your anger, but not to bury it, not to retain it or your fear, and just actually use it and channel it into a positive way. So how do you take energy that we label as negative, right? Do not anger, do not worry, but actually understand that it's just energy, and you can use it and transform it into love, compassion, and just being centered. How do you use your hara to really transform that energy and use it in a way that is good for you? So we love that, how physically you learn how to handle the Reiki precepts in a way that is very grounding, and is, again, it's not just in your head, it's in your whole body.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And when I read books on Aikido, the books of the founder, there are certain things that come back again and again and again. And he says, what you hear, what I hear, is heaven and earth, combine heaven and earth through breath, become the breath of life itself, blend the breath of heaven and breath of earth, become the breath of life itself. You hear a lot about blending. There is a concept, musubi. This is a blending with, because in Aikido you train with a partner. So you become, like you say, hara. You go into your hara, you settle in yourself, and from that place you blend with a partner. And that's where that's where the peace happens, takes place. Huh? Peace, love with no attachment, but the peaceful place where the technique flows from. And the founder of Aikido also keeps repeating, practice with joy. Don't forget the joy. So I think these are also the things that point out all the interesting principles and interesting points, which we see also in Reiki, right? It's again the oneness, the non-duality between heaven and earth. Do it through the breath. Go to your hara. Forget your fears, or make better choices than fear and than anger. Learn to make better choices. Train to make better choices. And what are the better choices? They're compassion for yourself, love, peace, joy. That's what I love. And like you say, training and practicing, you keep discovering your anger and your fear and your worry. And the more you discover it, or the more you realize you have it, you can train it. Yeah.
No, I love how Aikido is actually a lot happier than Iai. Iai is a very quiet sport, like so much so that when we have conventions, we have these competitions, and there is actually for 3 hours not a sound that is not the sword, and even your sword is not supposed to make a sound. So I love how like there is so much joy. When you talk about blending with a partner, again in Iai we don't have a partner, it's yourself projected, but you're supposed to blend with your sword. So you're supposed to become one with the sword, and the sword represents wisdom. And our deity, again, is very linked to Reiki because it's Fudomyo, which is linked to the Reiki master symbol. So there's a lot of similarities. And this beautiful thing, we have the ritual at the beginning called Reiho, where we become one with the sword. And then at the end, we separate, right, from the sword when we finish practice. And the sword is linked to the hara. You're always supposed to have the sword, when you finish a cut, linked to the hara. So for me also, again, when we talk about Reiki, when we get into this space of non-duality and we have this wisdom that is beautiful, and then sometimes we need to separate to go back to daily life. And then this connection that the hara at the end is the source of that non-duality. It's like the gateway to the universe. So I love how all these different martial arts, being Aikido, being Iai, they have elements of Reiki in
Yes.
different ways. And one thing I love when I started Iai was because I felt Reiki was very still, and it was easy for me to be in a space of happiness and contentment, still not in movement.
Yes.
And my sensei, she's an amazing sensei, she sent me a quote that said, like, stillness is not the lack of movement, it's presence without distraction. And I think what for me, I and probably for you, Aikido also brings is the capacity to move with the stillness and the beauty of Reiki. And that is helping me take the Reiki practice into everyday life. I don't know how you feel about that.
I feel the same. Morihei Ueshiba, again, the founder of Aikido, said there's stillness within the movement, there's movement within stillness. And that's again the same. And I liked your note about the sword, that you have to become one with the sword, but then you said you separate. And I think we could use a sword or a partner as a tool, as actually a temporary tool to practice, to go back to our hara, to ourselves, to center, but be aware. Like you mentioned also Fudo in martial arts, and also in Aikido, we deal with Fudoshin, which is an immovable mind. Fudoshin, again, linked to our Reiki practice. But then you also have Zanshin, where you're aware not only when you're not only movable, but you're aware of everything. And then you have a Mushin or Daishin, the great mind, no mind, where there is no, when your mind is not fixed on anything at all, where you're just, there's no difference between you and the universe, which is also the ultimate goal of Aikido. I am the universe is me. Yeah, but it's beautiful. But I think these are great tools. This is how we use, okay, Reiki, again, we can meditate, we can use techniques, breath techniques, we can use swords, we can use partners. But in the end, we have to live, and we live a life, and we cannot always, when dealing with a difficult situation, we cannot always take a sword and chop somebody's head off.
Good idea, actually.
It wouldn't be, sometimes would be great. But then, yes, hopefully we have trained enough to being able to handle this situation on our own without any tools. Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like for me, for example, when I started Iai, again, I never had a bad posture, but my posture changed. And Iai, again, and the same when I was in the Zen monastery, like they're really into posture as an anchor for your mind to open free, right? So in Iai, you really need to have the right body, as you say, so your mind can be in this space of openness. Absolutely. And what I noticed is it translated immediately into my life at work. Like I would just sit very still, but people will respect me and listen more than before without me raising my voice, right?
Yes.
And also, like when I was having discussion with people, I was able to have like clear boundaries in a healthier way. So I think, again, Reiki, martial arts, the more we practice them, they percolate into our life in a beautiful way. And yes, I do scare people sometimes in the street with my sword, but in general, it's more about the energy you start, you know, that you become very centered in your hara, and that gives you this weight, this safety, and this clarity that people feel. And in a good and a bad way, they respect you more, but also people come to you more because they feel grounded. They feel that you're stable, and people need that. Especially, I live in New York where everybody in their heads. So the more grounding we bring, you know, like people come, and when you have a Reiki client, you have a bunch of sessions, you want that grounding, that feeling of holding the space, you know, from a stable place is very important as well.
I agree. Again, I agree 100%. You mentioned, I love also what you mentioned, both Reiki and Aikido, and probably your art as well, they focus on bringing body and mind together, heaven and earth, through your breath. And this is what we learn, okay? And this is what we learn to do in synchronicity or synchron, or how do you call it? It's like, it's not first a kiai and then a movement and then a sword. No, it all has to be done coupled on elkaar or linked in each other. So it's very it is more tangible maybe than a meditation technique, and that makes it a bit more practicable because you notice your mistakes more. And I love how you how did sensei say that failure is a way to success, or something like that. Failure is a way to success. Every mistake that you make, you learn from it. And then, yeah, when you are standing there and when somebody's attacking you and you think, how do I react? Or when you have to roll, we just said it about rolls, when you have to roll and somebody is throwing you and you have to just give in, how do you react to it? How, do you feel yourself getting stressed and contracted, or do you relax and just let it go? And the more you do that, these things, the more you practice, your body also learns to relax, even in a difficult situation. Like now with all this crazy stuff going on, it's like, okay, where's my Aikido mentality? Okay, I just relax and give in.
And I love that, because I think sometimes, again, in Reiki, we talk about heaven and earth, firm and flexible, but we talk about it in a very, sometimes intellectual way. Sometimes when we have a strong practice, we feel it in our bodies and it percolates. But sometimes I'm a little bit pum pum. I need to hit my head many times against a wall. And for me, again, bringing the body experience of being flexible and firm in the dojo, like, really helps you understand how important it is to soften, right? How much strength there is in softening, how brittle we are when we're tense. But you also need to have these, some parts need to be very stable. So I think it also deepens our understanding of what earth is. You know, we have this concept, I don't know if in Europe you guys are more grounded than we are, but a lot of people here, especially in spiritual arts, see grounding as limiting, right? My creativity is going to be limited. It's rigid. I'm not going to be like creative. I need my third eye open. But you realize actually, like, the grounding is a different quality. You know, it's a beautiful thing that keeps you on earth so you can soften and really find the strength. So for me, like, really feeling it in my body. And again, as you said, failing and failing and failing, but sometimes getting that little bit of victory and finding that strength in softness has been so important, because in the US, we idealize strength. You know, we don't understand what vulnerability is, what softness is. And we see it as weak versus a source of strength. So for me, EI really brought that.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I soften, I'm vulnerable, and actually I'm finally doing it and I'm strong.
Yes, yes. And the funny thing is in Aikido, in a dojo, if a new person comes in, especially if it's a muscled man, and then I am not really at all, if you know me, I'm quite tiny. Yes. And then a person would stand, okay, I can handle that little girl. And then what you get is a lot of strength, is a lot of muscles that you get. And it only hurts, and it only makes me again stiffen and fight back. In fact, what Aikido teaches us is to relax our muscles, to not use our muscles, in fact. And if you want to bring somebody down, you don't bring it down with power, with muscles. You bring it through going down yourself in a very soft way. You use they say, you use gravity as your friend, as your ally. You go down yourself through your hips, you lower yourself. And then in this gentle movement, your partner does not resist, because there is nothing to resist, because it's a gentle and an harmonious movement. And this is how it happens. So it's also a very, I think it's a very nice way to show how the Reiki precepts work in life. It's also, we don't have to react with fear to fear, or with aggression to aggression. No, we can show compassion.
It sounds like water. I love how, like, you talked to me about this falling with gravity, and just the element of water, and not fighting the obstacles you don't need to fight, and going with the flow of life in a positive way, not in a surrendering, like, I give up way.
No, in a positive and active way, right? Yeah.
And I love how Aikido is really more joyful than EI, because EI, we're not water. So, but we're more.
I'm sure it's also very beautiful.
It's very beautiful, but I was thinking you were talking about how this blending and this harmony and love, And in Iai, it's a lot about losing the fear of death and confronting death and being in the now. And another thing, and you probably have the same in Aikido, in Iai, one thing that I'm not even close to getting there, you know, like, again, you're a beginner for the first 10 years in Iai. I'm like almost 4 years in, but it's really being in the now. So the idea is when you perform, instead of predicting what your opponent will do, you're fully in the movement, right? You're not like, you need to let go of your mistakes. Like many times, like if you do a kata wrong in a test, you need to keep it going without losing it. But you also cannot be like, now I'm going to be cutting this and that, or trying to predict the enemy's behavior. You're fully in the now, becoming one with the moment and the sword. And that's what makes so Reiki as well, right? And it's so challenging, but so helpful in these times, again, of craziness. We cannot, like, it's a gift for planners like me. I cannot plan anymore. So what do I take from my EI practice? Being fully in the moment, in the cut, in the step, in the zanshin, the moment after, we're still aware, and letting go of the mistakes I make all the time, or letting go of the future, just being present. And I think that for me also is a gift from EI, which I'm appreciating now during this time more than ever.
Yes, it's absolutely, it's the same. It's the same in Aikido. It's as well being in the moment. You cannot predict. If you anticipate, you are in trouble. And it's, of course, we repeat the same techniques over and over again, and it's very easy to fall into patterns. You do this, I do that. You do this, I do that. But it's anyway, it's every time you have to let go of that. You have to feel this through this blending with your partner. You have to feel where the energy is going, where is the movement, and every time you adjust yourself so that you do not hurt yourself. Actually, it's if you are being pinned, let's say there is a pin in Aikido. If you adjust yourself properly, then you will not hurt. You will not be hurt. But if you stay in the same place and you do not move with the technique or with your partner, you will end up in a very painful pin. And this is for me exactly what you say. It's exactly translated into life. Yeah, how do you react to things? Difficult things happen in life, and then do you keep staying and saying, no, this is my position, this is where I stand, and this is where I'm staying? Or do you say, okay, I will adjust myself a little bit so it doesn't hurt that much? Isn't it beautiful?
I love that. And you know, again, as you say so beautifully, like, do I stay in my position or do I adjust? And our tendency is to stay, right, and be stubborn, but how do you adjust? And seeing is actually, you're not giving in, you're actually adjusting and moving on. And then you said another word that I love, repetition, right? So in EI, the first kata that you do is the kata that will judge you in any black belts. We have up to 8 black belts. It takes you almost 30 years to go to the last one of practice, right? So, and what happens when you're forced to do something that you think you know how to do is that you start getting layers and layers and you refine it. And I think that is a learning that is not very similar to the way most people, or like we perceive Reiki in the West. You know, we start doing hands-on healing like this, and it's like, oh, it's not powerful enough. I go to the other layer, the other class, and then after 10 years, like, oh, my hands-on healing doesn't really feel. But what if we took that learning from probably your first katas, my first katas, and we refine hands-on healing, and we do it mindfully even after 20 years, and we keep on discovering new layers. So I think that is something that we have in martial arts that for me has impacted tremendously my Reiki practice in a good way. They completely, probably is a single thing, repetition and refining, that has, you know, like have an impact, especially in the hands-on healing, which after a while is like, okay, I touch myself. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Again, the same in Aikido. We have the tests, and there is a first technique, Ikkyo, the very first technique, and you learn it. At first you get it, you first do it step by step. You break it into steps, you break it into pieces. But the longer you practice, the more fluidity comes in, the more the technique starts to evolve, starts to change, starts to take a different shape. The technique starts to evolve, starts to change, starts to take a different shape. The technique starts to evolve, starts to change, starts to take a different shape. The technique starts to evolve, starts to change, starts to take a Hello.
Hi.
Oh, something went wrong with I don't know what you heard. I heard myself repeating again and again, talking about repetition.
I had to close my Facebook because my internet is not receiving. I saw there was a question from Ryan. We'll get back to you. We'll find out and we'll get back to you, Ryan, about maybe places in Virginia. I can ask at my dojo as well. But I think we're still live, but again.
Yeah, I see we're live, but I had to close Facebook as well because I heard an echo or something just repeating. It kept repeating. So just like I said, just about repetition.
Yes. So we're in repetition and you were talking about Aikido and the beautiful, how you break down the steps and then you put them back together.
Yeah. And again, there are tests, and when the different grades would be tested on the same techniques, and then you see how the technique, how different it becomes. So it's like, again, you could see very clearly that you start here and you start indeed just with steps, just with the technique, but then you get the principle, then you get the flow, then you get the content of the technique, and it's a never-ending story. It just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving, and that's beautiful. And that's indeed that brings us back to Reiki. And if it's not good enough, or if you think your Reiki is not good enough, just keep practicing. Don't go shopping for something else, but just keep practicing.
And go deeper or get insights. I think the other beautiful things, sometimes we keep on practicing in the same way. And again, this is great because we can go deeper, but if we're really stuck, I think bringing the concept of mentorship, reaching out to someone who actually has a practice a little bit more advanced and not seeing it as wrong and not better or worse, but some people have been practicing for many years and they can give you that little tip of that fresh insight that can help you go deeper or refresh your practice. Right. I'm still studying with France. Hopefully I will keep on studying with France. I went to Japan. I'm reading books about Buddhism. I read other stuff. Also, martial arts is bringing a lot of insights. And one thing I think we have to do as Reiki practitioner is not to go out of that way of like, in a weekend training, I have all the information I have, and understanding that if we have questions or we are stuck, it's okay to reach out, and there is a huge community willing to help. And there is a lot of knowledge out there that we can do. I think I love about this dojo is that it's okay not to know, right? What is not okay is not to ask what you don't know. And there's the concept of kohai and senpai, which is kohai are the people with less experience and senpai with more. And actually you're supposed to help your kohai and the senpai will help you. And there is no shame in having no experience and not being the senpai. It's just practice and time. We're in fact joking, we're on a Zoom, that we should have the ranks on the Zoom, right? Because we're organized by ranks. But there is a pride in being a kohai, in having less experience, and because you're also helping the teacher becoming a better teacher by teaching you. So I think one of the things as well in Reiki, like encouraging people, if they're feeling stuck, if they're hands-on healing, practice, but also reach out for help, take a class to continue in education. Dojo training is every week, twice a week sometimes. So how do we do that as well for Reiki?
Yeah, good question.
I don't know if this makes sense. This is a rambling. So, but
yeah, this is how do we do that? Yeah, it's Well, same what you said about kohai and senpai. Of course, it's Japanese terms and Japanese things which you probably see in every art, Japanese art. And what I know in Aikido is you are being motivated to go and train with those who are advanced. In the beginning, you are too shy to do that. You think, oh, somebody who is a black belt, I don't come even near that because, you're afraid, you're shy. But what I have noticed is, like, of course, students who are beginners training with more advanced students, they learn a lot. But also otherwise, when you train with a beginner, you go back to the beginning, and the beginner does not always have a ready response, or he does not really know how to respond. And sometimes they respond in a different way, in a very very unexpected way, and that also gives you a very interesting stuff to train with. And how do you still keep the technique flowing? How do you still keep things in control yourself and everything? So it's it's an interesting. And how do we do it in Reiki? I think it goes actually it should, if you have a Reiki community, if you have a community, it will happen.
And I think it's starting to happen. Bad, like pandemic has a lot of bad things, but a beautiful things I've noticed is we're joining as a community a lot more to practice together. And also I think we're seeing less caring about the lineage, and the same way you and I are finding so many commonalities between Iai and Aikido, that the essence is actually the same. I think we're finding that no matter the lineage, the essence of Reiki, the oneness, the love and compassion is the same. So I'm seeing more of a, let's all practice together. And I think so much richness is coming out of it. And like, that's one thing I'm loving about this pandemic, probably one of the few things.
That you go reach out, and you're looking for people, and possibilities. Yes. Yeah, and also it's a way for a lot of people, again, to turn back to yourself, and which is again turning back to yourself, because what we have been doing, we have been amusing ourselves, entertaining ourselves by shopping, eating out, buying, I don't know, movies, everything, friends, cafes, restaurants, and even sport. And now it's all has shrunk to our little living room, let's say, together with our family, or not family, just ourselves or our family. And then all the things which we have inside are coming out, and you start noticing them. So I think it's also a great opportunity to practice that, to just sit down and practice.
Yeah. And the Reiki precepts.
Yes,
like,
because sorry?
No, go ahead. And just, it's a great time for the Reiki precepts.
Yeah, it is. Because before you reach out for others, like in Reiki precepts, you start with yourself, but then show compassion for yourself and others. Before you start reaching out for others, you have really to make sure with what we are reaching others. Is it our fears and anger that we are reaching others to, or is it real, genuine compassion?
I actually love that. I think many times when we reach out, it's really out of fear and need, it's, and sometimes boredom as well. But I think also, again, in Iai and Aikido, I think that's the other thing that helps you. And again, in a very body obvious way, right? Shows you, again, in Aikido, as you say, how do you are like, you're always equal, right? Like you're creating harmony, not and out of grounded in yourself. So it really teaches you, from what I'm hearing, a lot about relationship, the flow, being grounded in yourself, but also be compassionate. In Iai, again, we fight our dark side. The enemy is yourself. So, you can see your best self and your dark self, but it's also grounded in you. So you start having a better relationship with yourself. So then that extrapolates to the whole dojo, and you start being happy, or being a kohai or a senpai. It extrapolates in the community.
Yes.
So I really love that.
Yeah, I see it also. The way I see it right now, probably it will change in some 10 years or something, but the way I see it now is we have the concept of non-duality, where we have ourselves, like Nathalie and Anya, and we have the rest of life, the universe. And we're not just ourselves, and we are not just the universe. We're both. And what we bring in is like, if we live from the perspective of just our small selves, then what revolves around us is fears, anger, or all this, things which are ego-oriented things. While if we broaden our perspective, then if we start looking around, we start, I can be grateful for things around me, but also for myself, for my body, I have this tool, I have this instrument to bring to bring into this life, to bring into our world, into the universe. But what do I bring? We have to look at what do I bring, and then we start training in making better choices. For me, it's just training in making better choices. How do I choose to react to things? How do I choose to behave? How do I choose to be with myself and others? This is for me also is that I think this is the core in training of everything, all the arts, Japanese arts, and Reiki as well. Yeah.
And I'll just add, and I know we're reaching the time limit, but when I hear you, I hear spaciousness, right? So when you are not just your tiny mind, you have this more spacious mind. And what happens is then the anger is smaller, like emotions become smaller, so you have space to process them, right? So you're not like overwhelmed by anger and worry. And that again goes back to the precepts. So Reiki practice, Aikido, Iaido, and again, that interconnection with being yourself and everything creates space. And again, in this moment, you probably have a little bigger apartment than I have, but my apartment is very cozy and small. So creating inner space,
yes,
it's always important, but it's so important right now to have this sense that we're not really compressed. We have space to feel, to be. I think it's beautiful. And, again, you're not practicing Aikido, I'm not practicing Iai, but that practice is still with us. It may look like it depends on the dojo, but it percolates your life. So I just think those gifts, again, the impact Reiki practice, I'm just very grateful. We can also like feel that spaciousness and all those gifts in everyday life, even when our dojos are closed.
Even if our dojos are closed, indeed. What you're saying now makes me think of a beautiful quote. Maybe we could finalize with that, if I find it very quickly. No, not this one, not this one, not this one.
Good library going on there. I like that.
The divine is not something high above us. It is in heaven, it is in earth, it is inside us, which I love. We can look everywhere, but we find it inside.
And that's it. I'm not adding, that's perfect.
Yeah, I think it's a great one.
Like, there's no better way to finish that conversation.
Yeah.
Quote.
And can you see any questions? Because I had to switch on.
I have to close my Facebook. So if anyone has questions, we really apologize. But again, the internet is very congested. So we'll get back to you. Anya will, if about the eye.
Right. Yeah, you could write your questions below this post, and then we could try to react to them as much as possible, right?
Yes, and I want to finish by thanking you very much for the invitation. You were organizing this, and I'm really, really grateful that you made this happen. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking this opportunity to talk about it. We always wanted to, but it never happened. And now we have. Maybe we will talk more, but it's been exciting. It's great. I think it's so beautiful to indeed to have this, it's like traveling to different countries. It's like you cannot go everywhere, but you can hear some other people talking about this and that, and then you start, it's a very eye-opening. It broadens your view. It creates a space. Yes.
Next time I'm in Holland, I'm going to your dojo, no matter what. Like,
you're welcome. You're very welcome. You're very welcome to do that. Great.
New York, I'll bring you to my dojo.
If I am in New York, I will absolutely go.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you, Nathalie, and have a good day.
You
and
too.
Everybody else, thank you for watching and putting questions and whatever your interest and enthusiasm. And bye-bye.
Kisses. Ciao.
Ciao.